When I was a little kid, I remember I was wild. I'd run around catching butterflies. I'd pretend that I could speak to little bugs. And essentially, I was just being completely myself. I felt free. And then somebody came up to me and said, "You need to grow up. You need to become an adult." And I've tried. I've learned so many new things. I've acquired so much new knowledge. I've developed so many new contacts. I've acquired so many new positions. After all, realizing that I was kind of smarter when I was a little child. Ladies and gentlemen, I've realized that throughout the years, no matter how much we learn, no matter how professional we become, no matter how much of an adult we play, there's something inside of us deep down that is kind of always willing to come out. There's this inner sense, you could call this an inner child. I call this inner madness, as mentioned by Michael. But we all have this sensation to essentially want to be free. But unfortunately, we can't, because our society places normality at the pinnacle of importance. And in turn, by doing this, other important values get jeopardized, like individuality, vulnerability, the ability to be honest, the ability to express yourself with complete transparency. We place the concept of being normal at the far most important thing, at the expense of being a human being. We all start what I call developing masks from a young age. As children, we want to fit in society. So we start putting on and wearing different masks so that we can fit into society and become a part of this crazy world. And the crazy thing is that these masks that we develop end up distancing ourselves from ourselves. The layer can sometimes become so thick that we lose touch of the true essence of who we are deep down, because we get so accustomed to playing different roles, to being experts, to being professionals, maybe to being, cool people who go clubbing, or lovers. We all have certain stereotypes that we like to portray to the world. And these masks that we put on do distance us from our true selves. Now, I find that a lot of the time, and a lot of the fears that we have in this society, especially considering that public speaking is the biggest fear, maybe that could be an explanation for that. Maybe we've all got so accustomed to being so perfect that we even fear just being simply ourselves. And I have a couple of suggestions that I'd like to make here today. I happen to be also a public speaking coach, kind of still learning the ropes myself. I've realized there's a couple of things that can help in becoming more confident, and most importantly, a way to take off the mask. And there are 4 things I'd like to share with you guys here today. The first thing is playing. Like I mentioned in the beginning of my speech, we come from a state of playfulness. When we play, we are free. We are not thinking, we are not trying to be anybody, but we're simply being ourselves. So the first tip that I'd like to share with everyone here today is to play. What does it mean to play? You can play an instrument, you can play a game, but essentially tapping into that state where you're not trying to be an adult, you're not trying to portray a certain version of yourself, but you're being free. The second tip is vulnerability. I find that sometimes we experience painful experiences in our lives which lead us to develop this armor of a hard person who doesn't want to suffer anymore. And the more we try to protect ourselves by doing that, the further we grow from ourselves. So it kind of sucks, but we have to always keep ourselves vulnerable, and we have to keep ourselves open to the world and always suffering and kind of going through the gist of what life has in stock for us. The third thing is instincts. I feel like growing in the city, especially living in London, we are completely out of sync from our instincts and our intuition. But back in the day, there was a time when we lived in the woods, when we lived in the caves, and we were kind of more tuned with things. We had a strong sense, we had a strong intuition. So I think it's very healthy for us to try to reawaken our instincts and reawaken our impulses by simply being truthful to what we're feeling. Which means that if you see a pretty lady walking on the street, or if you see a gentleman that you feel attracted to, just come up to them and say, "You're beautiful. You're looking very nice today." Or in the same light, if you're sitting on the tube and it's peak time at 6 o'clock and everybody's pushing you around, you got a lot of sweaty palms in your face, it's totally appropriate to just say, "Sorry, excuse me, could you move?" But having that instinctiveness, that impulsiveness to voice ourselves and stand for our right, I think is an extremely important quality to exercise. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard. Life is hard. There are good experiences that we go through, there are painful experiences that we go through. It kind of comes in a ball of different feelings and emotions. And unfortunately, we can't take away the bad experiences. We can't hide ourselves from the negative and just try to feel the positive. We kind of have to embrace life as a whole. So I encourage you guys all to please, please have the courage to take off the masks so that we can connect with each other on a deeper level. But most importantly, so that we can reconnect with our inner, weird, naked self, because sometimes the answers that we seek externally can actually be found within. Thank you very much.